Morning, everyone.
Good morning. I'll play it one more time to wake us up. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here with us today on this Good Friday.
Oh, no, I can't do that. Oh, I forgot I made myself a co-host. Okay.
So today we're talking about finding balance in our new normal.
Kind of an impromptu conversation today.
What's that?
I said kind of an impromptu conversation.
Yeah. But do you want to start with Miss Lucille?
Sure, we can do that.
It's also
National Poetry Month. It's a Friday. I just woke up. Michelle is here, looking cute. It's hot in Texas. National Poetry Month, and we're going to open this up with Miss Lucille Clifton. Just a second. Let me get this for you. Okay. I don't know why this is doing this right here, but I hope it allows this to happen. Okay. No. Yes. Okay. I am ready to share. Oh, oops. Dang it. Because I have to share the sound. I'm sorry. Okay, it's there. Okay.
I write a lot about body parts. She looked at her. What? Body parts? What?
Yeah.
Well, the reason for that is because I am thrilled with my body parts, And people say men don't write about body parts that much. Well, they don't have the thrilling body parts that I have. That's why. And I'm excited. All the women applaud. And also, I live in a culture where where you're supposed to be 18 to 20, and I'm not. I know you guessed that, but it's true. You're supposed to not have gray hair, and I love my hair. It's white, and I think it's wonderful. And you're supposed to be about 125, and I was born wearing more than that. Trust me. So I like to celebrate the wonderfulness that I am. And this universal poem is called Homage to My Hips. These hips are big hips. They need space to move around in. They don't fit into little petty places. These hips are free hips. They don't like to be held back. These hips have never been enslaved. They go where they want to go. They do what they want to do. These hips are mighty hips. These hips are magic hips. I have known them to put a spell on a man and to spin him like a top.
I feel like that was an appropriate way to begin our podcast today.
That was amazing. That was the great Lucille Clifton. Homage to My Hips, if you want to look up the poem. It's an amazing poem.
So happy National Poetry Month. Celebrate poetry this month. Okay. So we wanted to invite everyone in the chat today we're talking about finding balance, and finding balance as archivists, finding balance as women. And so if you want to drop into the chat, things that you maybe are trying to find balance in. And we'll see how we can maybe incorporate some of those things into our conversation today. Kim and I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the balancing acts that we are doing in our lives. And Kim, I'm going to ask you first because I don't know, this is what I want to know how you balance. You resigned from your position last July. So now you've started your own business. And I just want, I feel like that could be just so consuming, right? You could just have that be everything, because when you're very first starting out, you're trying to build clientele, you're trying to figure out how it works. So how do you balance having your own business with the rest of your life, basically?
I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. How do I balance it? Honestly, I think Roxy Blue helps me out a lot, my dog. And the reason why I say that is, and I'm not trying to knock anyone this morning for having children or being married, but I'm not married. I don't have children, and I'm 45 years old. And that's not normal in America, right? But then again, it is normal for me. So I think having balance, I think having my dog has helped me understand what responsibility is, if that makes sense, in regards to balance. So, you know, resigning from a job, I still know I still have to walk Roxy. And I know that may sound like a responsibility, but for me, it's balance, because I know I'm just not having to take care of myself. That can be consuming. Just you. Like, I'm a Virgo. We're very consumed people in regards to ourselves. So I found out Cat Williams is a Virgo too. Okay. So I think I have more balance since I left the Austin History Center.
That's good.
I wasn't getting a lot of sleep before 2020. I was very stressed out. I just had a lot on my back, being that I was the only Black person in that institution that dealt with what I had to deal with in regards to the Black community. So it's only one person having to deal with all of the state capital in Texas people. Okay. So anyway, and then walking away, I honestly, Michelle, I'm being honest, the week that I resigned, I know I slept for a whole week. Like, literally slept and felt rested. Now, as far as my company, that's always been in existence. I've always been an entrepreneur. So that's not anything that's like stopped in my life. It's just, it's now full throttle. So I think the question would be, for me, if I ask myself a question, how do I balance a PhD and having my own business? Yeah, how do I do that?
That was going to be the next question.
I started my PhD life at the beginning of 2020, and I just want to tell everyone my last set of courses have been approved. So my coursework will be finished spring 2023. I am very, very excited. And then headed towards the dissertation process. So how am I balancing that with work? I think I've always been motivated and passionate about what I do and what I love. So I think when you have those components, for me, then I make it work. I don't think as an entrepreneur, you necessarily are going to always have balance. But then again, you have those components, my exercise, the way I eat, making sure that I have positive quotes around me all day. And just making sure that I'm in a good space with myself. I think that's what balance is for me right now. I don't know how to explain that to anyone in regards to getting a PhD, though. Like, it is a world that I was not mentally prepared for. But now that I'm in it, it's just one of those things. Once you get in it, you just got to finish. So I think it's by any means necessary on that end of the spectrum.
You know, as you're talking, it makes me think, I heard a quote, and I can't even remember where I heard it, but it's basically it was saying that balance actually doesn't exist. It's actually just priorities, right? It's prioritizing, it's not balance. Like, and I love, Jennifer, what you put in here is getting everything done in my life, still finding time for work, and feeling like I may be doing part of it well. And I think especially as women, like, we want to do all of it, and we want to feel like we're doing well at all of it, right? And I feel like there's like that outside sort of judgment of like, well, if you're not doing well in this part, that must mean that you're failing at life, right? And so just the idea of, it's not about balance even. So maybe, you know, we're representing ourselves in a, you know, not true way today about finding balance, because it's not about finding balance maybe so much as it is finding priority, right? Where it's, if you're focusing on work, then of course you're not necessarily focusing on Roxy Blue, or you're not focusing on your PhD, and you just have to kind of be present and focus on that in that time to do it well, even if it seems like you're not balancing your other things. But it's just being able to find, you know, prioritize, and then take that time to be all in whatever you're managing at that time.
I find people, like, I tell people I take a nap every day, like around 2:00, I take a nap. And I did that in my office when I worked for the city. And people would be like, you're actually in your office sleep. If you want me to be productive, you're going to let me take a nap. And I'm just glad that I've taken that into my practices as a business owner, because I have to have that sleep, because I don't have the same I don't sleep the same hours as other people as well, being that I have that extra component of school. So I think that's something I think people should take away with them too today. Take a nap. If you want to go to sleep,
Right.
Go to sleep for 30 minutes or 15 minutes. Like, we need that, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I love that, Mary Beth. Now that the world is opening back up, I am relearning how to balance doing all the things I want to do while still allowing myself enough time to recharge my introvert batteries. I was having a conversation with my mom yesterday about just, I was finished with this week come like Wednesday afternoon. I had
Mentally,
I had 7 meetings at work on Wednesday. It was just like bam, 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 like all day long. And by the time I got to the end of that day, I was like, I used to do this every day. Like, this was my life every day before the pandemic, right? And then the pandemic hit, and it's like you're saying, right? I gave myself the opportunity to have a nap when I didn't have a meeting for an hour in the afternoon. And just recognizing that, right? And someone else said, it was Marissa saying, you know, recognizing you don't have to be on the go all the time, right? And just being able to step back and say, actually, and I love what you're saying too, Kim, like, you have to take care of yourself, right? And
girl, because we're talking about the glam movement. Like, I'm 45. This looks nice, people. This looks nice.
Beautiful.
Okay? Like, so we're not trying to have no wrinkles at 46. We just not trying to have it. I'm looking at the chat. Like, when we say balance, like, I downloaded this article, and it says, when the COVID-19 pandemic hit, everything changed. How we work, if we work, how our kids attend school, how we shop, where we can go, and what we can do. And it happened almost instantly. No time to plan and little choice in the matter. We all gave up our old lives, and we all gave up control. That's a big time recipe for stress. And so here we all are, living life in new ways, perhaps wishing things could be the way they were. Right now, we can't go back to the way we lived, but we can go back to how we felt. I don't believe that. We can take back some control of our lives. I believe that. We can find happiness, connection, and relaxation. I believe in that. And that is not just for you. It's good for your family, your friends, and your community. So where it says, right now, we can't go back to the way we lived, but we can get back to how we felt. What does that mean to you? I don't agree with that statement, but do you? Or like, in regards to balance?
Right, and I think again, it was a shift in priorities, right? When the pandemic happened, have you I should have brought this poem. It's called "And the People Stayed Home."
By who?
And gosh, I wish I could remember. Hold on, let me see if I can look it up real quick while I'm talking. It is by, they've actually turned it into a book, so it's really sweet. And I have it downstairs, but I don't. It's Kitty.
I'll put it in the chat. And the people stayed home.
Kitty O'Mara. Let's see. Do I have it here?
Or can you just copy and paste, put it in the chat?
Here, there's a video. You know what? I'm going to share it.
Okay.
Let me see. How do I share my screen and share the audio?
So you click share screen, and then you're going to click share sound.
Advanced share. I see.
And you see the little sound thing to the left at the bottom. It should say share sound.
Let's see. This is the one I want to share. Okay, and now I'm not going to even be able to. Can you hear that?
Yeah. Can everyone else hear it? You can just say, sure, okay, in the chat. Oh no, they can't hear it. Did you press share sound?
Let me see here. You share. I don't see anywhere that it tells me I can share the sound. So now let's see.
Okay, so stop and I'll do it.
You want to do it? Do you want me to send you the link?
Yeah. Just put it in the chat.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing.
Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, so can you stop the sharing?
I bet I could if I knew how. Hold on. Oh, look, share sound. There, I found it. Okay. Tell me now if you can hear it.
That you enjoy this amazing story, but that you also support the author with a purchase of this book. And the people stayed home and they listened.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
And read books and rested and exercised and made art and played games and learned new ways of being and were still. And they listened more deeply. Some meditated, some prayed, some danced, some met their shadows. And the people began to think differently, and the people healed. And in the absence of people living in ignorant, dangerous, and heartless ways, the earth began to heal. And when the danger passed and the people joined together again, they grieved their losses and made new choices and dreamed new images and created new ways to live and heal the earth fully as they had been healed.
Like, kudos, yay, yay.
Yeah.
I think those are two important poems, you know, opening up, talking about hips, but you're using hips as a metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
And then looking at this, and, you know, we're talking about independence and freedom, and then we're talking about independence and freedom for a family. That's how I just viewed it. Independence, you know, self and family. That's how I just saw that.
Right. Well, and just talking about, right, going back to the way we felt, you know, before the pandemic. I love this idea, right, where it's like, this gave us a moment to pause and to reprioritize and to recognize, like, just for me the other day when I was like, how did I do this all the time? Like, because I wasn't prioritizing myself, I wasn't taking care of myself, and work was such a huge priority, right? And just getting through that day. And by the time I got home, I was exhausted and couldn't spend quality time with my kids, you know, and so just recognizing, I mean, for me, I think it was recognizing that delegation is important at work, especially, right? Like, you don't have to try to do all of it all the time. And I think sometimes people see that as like, oh, she's just, you know, foisting off her responsibilities to someone else. But it's really all about recognizing your limits and recognizing that you don't have to be everything for everybody all the time, and giving that some of those things to other people, right? So yes, I love that poem. And The People Stayed Home by Kitty O'Mara, and it's a book and it's really sweet. So
like, yeah, I'm going to get a copy of that, and I am going to watch that this weekend again. Trying to incorporate that in some of my work that I do. I think that's important. I think when it says this again, right now, we can't go back to the way we live, but we can get back to how we felt. Like, how did I feel? I don't want to go back to that way.
I don't want to go back to that.
Like, exactly. I mean, now, I've never had this many Zoom meetings in my life as a librarian and archivist friend, everything. Like, I've never had this many, and I've gotten to the point where I'm like, it's a 15-minute meeting or a 30-minute meeting. So like my genealogy consultations that I do, they're only 30 minutes. I don't want to sit up and listen to your family. No, I'm not, I don't want to hear about your family, but I don't want to hear about them for an hour, because you're gonna have to pay me after 30 minutes so we can keep going through this process. I think that's important, to make these boundaries. That's one thing that I learned from myself, is putting boundaries in front of me. And I've noticed how a lot of people had issues with that when I started doing that, because Virgos, and I'm just saying Virgos, please know your sign, because if you know your sign, you know your characteristics, you know other people. It's a great way to learn about other people. I am so serious. Finding balance. So when you go into a room, oh, that's a Sagittarius, I already know what's about to go down. I'm serious. Like, it helps me in a lot of different ways. But being as it may, knowing that I'm a perfectionist, knowing, like, these are Virgo traits. I am a perfectionist. Living with my mother all my life, she passed when I turned 38, but she was very vain. Like, when I say beauty, every day we watched our mother wake up and she was beautiful. And that's wonderful. But that's a lot of work. And how do you find balance in all of that? Like, you know, so I think for myself, you know, and just for the past 2.5 years, again, I've had to make those pivotal steps. I've pivoted. Yes. And, you know, no, if it says we're going to have a meeting for an hour, we're only going to have a meeting for 60 minutes. It's not going beyond 62, 61, 60 minutes. And I've had people to get upset with me about that. But in them coming back, dealing with me as the arts commissioner, for the city of Austin and hosting equity meetings and everything. Kimberly, we really like the way you're hosting meetings now, because you know Kim is going to keep it together. We're going to do, we have this agenda. We're going 1, 2, 3. Bye. What's wrong with that? You know, like, I think when you think about balance, we just have a, I don't know, I think we're still dealing with that, where everyone is so, I just got to be in control. I got to have this going on. I got to have that going on. And it's like.
And something, so I live in Salt Lake City, Utah, and like 3 days after the like lockdown started in 2020, we had an earthquake, and it was like a 5.6 or something like that. And so like we had just started the lockdown. I was with my 2 boys, and their dad thought he'd been exposed to COVID. So and we were separated at the time. So like it was just the 3 of us in this little tiny apartment, and there was an earthquake. And at that moment, I recognized, like, I have absolutely no control over my life, actually. Like, everything that I thought I had control over, I do not. And so, but I think I wanted to kind of step back a little bit, and something that you said, and I have another quote that I want to share. You were saying about setting boundaries. And quite honestly, I think that is like the answer to finding balance, to prioritizing. And here's this quote that I have, and it's by an author. I don't even know if it's a him or a her. L.R. Nost says this. Oh, it's a she. She says, "Boundaries are not barbed wire fences. Boundaries are the poetry and prose that tell others how to love, respect, and connect with us. Boundaries are the choreography of our relationships, guiding the steps of our interactions. Boundaries are love in action."
Oh my God, I love that. Hold on.
Let me.
Boundaries are love in action. I have to put this in here. Boundaries are.
I'm gonna paste it into the chat so everybody can have it.
Oh my God, that's like, I need that.
Well, and that's what I love, right? Because I think so much we talk about boundaries being a way that you're separating yourself from other people. And really what it is you're showing other people how to love, respect, and connect with you. That's what your boundary is. And it's showing yourself how you love, respect, and connect with yourself is by creating those boundaries, right? And so for you, right, like setting that meeting and being like, no, it is 60 minutes. We are not going to go any further. Like, that is you setting the boundary of like that connection and that respect for both yourself and for the other people, right? And I just really love that this is the dance that we do with each other. And for me, creating boundaries has been I'm such a people pleaser. I'm an Aquarius. I don't know what sign stuff. Honestly, I need to learn it. So I will take your advice into consideration.
Oh yeah, I'm telling you, like, people always wonder, like, why does she always talk about, you know, astrology? I'm telling you, even with your children.
Yeah.
You probably won't even say anything after you know their characteristics and what's going on with them. Just like, you know what? That's just what they do. Let me just sit on the couch. They'll figure it out. You know, like, I think finding those little crevices, those little holes that you can like just, you know, just let it go and just let people be. What's wrong with letting people be? I think that's another part of balance.
That's been a huge thing so I'm a huge people pleaser, and it's you know, I try to control other people, right? I try to control what they're doing because I want them to do it the way that I want to do anyway. So yeah, and being a people pleaser, you know, I try to control their feelings. If they have bad feelings, it's like, oh no, they can't have bad feelings, I need to fix it, right? And so for me, boundaries has been really challenging for myself, because it's that finding that for myself to like be able to, differentiate is the term, to have that differentiation between myself and other people. And I think that's, for me, that's where it's like, I have to do everything for everyone all the time because I have to have people love me. And if I don't be everything for everyone all the time, then everybody won't love me. And I can't handle that, right? And so that's honestly, I think that's something the pandemic taught me because I wasn't around anybody else, right? And so for me, my new normal has been learning how to create these important boundaries and learning how to respect myself by letting other people have their feelings and not trying to control their reactions and their responses to things, but being true to myself and what my, how I feel about things, and just focusing on that. So
for all the people who just come in, we're talking about balance today. It's kind of an impromptu conversation between the host, and we're going to open it up to everyone else to talk about balance, all of us. But I would say, because we were talking about love the other day, we do have to bring this in. Love. And we are talking about romantic love, people, because I believe we were created to have relationships. Whatever relationship you have, whoever is with, that's your business. That is your business. But I do believe that we were placed on this earth to have relationships with each other. And, it was very interesting for me in my life situation, when you talk about balance, 2019, I wake up this weekend. Never forget it. And I'll just say the spirit, the universe. So go on Facebook real quick. I do that. She is standing there with him at the Omni Hotel in Dallas, Texas. This person just told me that they love me like 14 times. We were together for 4 years, engaged. I moved back to Texas for one of, that was a major reason. And my Easter weekend in 2019 was devastating. So how do you find balance when you have to walk away from situations, walk away from people? How do you find that balance? And then, lo and behold, as soon as I thought I was like on track, I went into therapy and everything. Because like this people, I thought this is the one. I am 5 feet tall. He was 6'5". Okay. And oh, Jesus. I love him tall. Was just, and I just lost my mom, all these traumatic things taking place in my life, left Lincoln University, all these things taking place in my life. And I'm trying to figure out, am I grieving for my mom still? What just happened with this man? And then the pandemic hits. It was like clockwork. And I didn't know if I was going crazy, but I will say that I want to give a shout out to my therapist. Her name's Kimberly too. She graduated from the University of Texas at Austin. And she just took me into a place where I needed to go, of just learning how to just let people go and finding that balance. It's okay to let people go, and it's okay to let people go and not curse them out. I didn't. Now, I'm going to be honest. I did say a few things because I am a Black woman, and we're going to say something. We're not just going to let you walk away and you don't get a little taste of this brown sugar, okay? So I had to say some things that weekend, but after that, I walked away completely, Michelle. That weekend, I wore his phone out, said what I needed to say by voicemail because I didn't want to hear him. 2019, Easter. And we are now in 2022. I have not spoken to this person, got through just everything I needed to get through. And I will never forget. And this is how I know I accomplished balance in my life. I remember her asking me, are you going to allow him an opportunity to explain himself to you? My therapist asked me that. And I thought she was losing her mind. I was like, did you not hear me just tell you what this person did to me? And I said, no. Because you got the opportunity to say what you wanted to say. You showed it to me. Mm-hmm. So why do I need to hear you explain to me that you didn't want me when I said in the beginning of our relationship, if you never wanted to be with me again, all you do is tell me, but you showed me. So why, so finding that balance in being okay with walking away and becoming whole again. I think
Yes.
was a process that I had to go through during this pandemic. It was very hard. My first year, I was very depressed because, you know, like I had just 4 years of my life.
Right.
And, you know, believing in love again, not just romantic love, but believing in love, that it's okay to love, that it's okay to trust other people. I think that has a lot to do with balance as well for me. Maybe we need to find another word for balance. I don't know. But I will offer you this book. It's called
Okay.
Redemption Song. It's a great book.
Who is
Because
it by?
it's by Bertice Berry. I should have told you that first because I'm a librarian. But Redemption Song by Bertice Berry. What I will say, I think for me, I'm not a psychic, but I do get revelations in my dreams. You know, finding balance when you walk away from certain things, I would say it's like this quote that I'm reading. It's not the absence of fear, it's overcoming it. Sometimes you got to blast through and have faith. Emma Watson. And I think having that faith, knowing that there's something on the other side, which was me, loving me again, you know, balancing my life all over again because I put so much into you. And I think we have to think about that. I don't know if people have thought about that during the pandemic of how much how much you've given yourself to other people.
Yes.
You know, and how do you take that back? How do you take that control back for self? I learned it, and I just want to say it has to do with being a Virgo, because you can just cut people off like that. You know, like, so look at your sign today. What sign are you? Are you a Sagittarius? Are you an Aquarius? Are you a Capricorn? Are you a Gemini? You know, how do y'all go about that? Do you just wallow in situations, or do you want to find balance and say, this is not for me anymore? I need to do this way.
Mm-hmm. And as you were talking, finding balance is all about how we relate to other people, right? And ourselves, because I think we're thinking about the expectations other people have of us, and what we have, and the ones we have of ourselves. And for me, again, like being a people pleaser, it's called codependency, everyone. I don't know if you've heard of it. I am a recovering codependent.
I have some family members who are like that.
Where external validation has meant more to me in my life than like internal validation, right? So again, like needing everybody to love me. It's a terrible way to live. I don't recommend it. Because not everybody's going to love you all the time. Like people are going to get upset.
Especially at your job.
Yeah, right. And towards the end of the pandemic, so I was a supervisor of a team of 8 people when the pandemic hit. So then it was figuring out how to, you know, keep people working and moving forward in our institution during a pandemic. And I mean, if maybe this is TMI, but you know, talking about I signed divorce papers the weekend everything shut down in 2020. So like starting the divorce process, pandemic, trying to lead a team, right? In quarantine with my 2 little boys, ages 3 and 1. And no, 4 and 2. Sorry, they were 4 and 2. Anyway, and so just it was a little bit of a nightmare, and I didn't handle it well. And towards the end of the pandemic, when we're all kind of starting to come back to the office, I received some pretty difficult feedback from some of my team members. And it was one of those things where it was like I had recognized that I was not really doing a good job, and I was kind of just waiting for somebody to figure it out. And I dropped the ball on a few things, and so it became clear. And so I received that hard feedback. And I think for me, like owning that and recognizing, yeah, I haven't been doing very well, and I'm really sorry, But I think, again, like, I think that goes back to boundaries. I think that goes back to internal validation, right? And recognizing like, maybe I didn't do a great job, but I will do better. And again, like setting those priorities for yourself, And I think that's what's so important. Don't let other people set your priorities for you, because because that's when you lose yourself, and that's when your balance goes out the window, right? Like, you have to be able to set your own priorities and then live with that, right? And there are consequences either way. There are good consequences, bad consequences, but if you set those priorities and you're living, you're by your most true self and following your heart, like, it works out.
What time is it?
It is 9:42. It's about time to open it up to everybody.
So y'all want to turn on your cameras? Somebody wants to turn on your cameras and have this conversation. Oh, they just come. Oh, wow. So they've been listening. Okay. Okay, that's what's up. That is so cool. It's like, oh, you know what? I want to be a part of this conversation. Okay, so whomever likes, if you would like to say who you are, you can just raise your hand and we'll just call on you and you can just go for it. And remember, we're talking about balance and however you want to go about it. And you are being recorded. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you can also drop things in the chat if you would prefer. But we'd love to hear about your experiences.
Stephanie looks like she wants to say something. Do you want to say something, Stephanie?
Especially, but maybe. I don't know. I guess boundaries is definitely an area where I struggle. Like, I feel like I probably need some, but I don't even know where to start, like where to go with boundaries.
Well, we're not therapists, so I'm going to say what you need to do is to look at what's your sign? What's your sign? You know your sign.
I am a Gemini. I've never really identified with it, but
you got to look at that, girl.
Okay.
Virgos and Geminis are the only human signs.
The only what?
We're the only human signs. We're the only human.
Oh, okay.
Being that, I have a full body and y'all have two bodies. Y'all have two faces. So I'm telling you, start from there. He's like, are you serious, Kim?
Look, I'm not like, I have like fortune stuff all over my office. I'm not like put off by that at all. But for some reason, astrology just has never connected to me. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, and I said that too, right? Like, I've never really been into that, right?
Did you see what Jennifer said?
Yeah, even my rising and moon signs, I don't know. But that's like a personal problem that I'm gonna have to like investigate some more, I think.
And then I would say, in regards to boundaries, one thing that I did, I just started making boundaries. That's what I did. And that's how life has become better. I just started making boundaries. And I just say, make one today, make one this weekend. Just make one boundary this weekend. Let that be a goal. And then, it'll start happening. Because sometimes we just have to start.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So I just put in the chat, this is a book that I read right around the start of the pandemic. I don't know. It's a little bit religion based. So I don't know if anybody, I didn't recognize that when I picked it up, but it kind of does talk a little bit about religion and Christianity based. So, but I thought it was really helpful. So just as a resource about setting boundaries.
Hollis, is that how you say your name? Hollis?
Yes, it's Hollis. And I also read the Cloud and Townsend book, and I found that super helpful in like recognizing boundaries, because like that was one of the hardest things for me about like learning to set boundaries is like seeing when my boundaries were being overstepped. I'm also very much a people pleaser, and so I was like, I just have to do all these things. It's just how to be a good person, and then it was like, no, that's too much. So particularly, I personally had a hard time setting boundaries with some family members. So that was I found that book to be particularly helpful in learning to deal with those, like, no, I don't have to do that. Like, I just don't have to do that. And as far as balance is concerned, not having very good boundaries was part of why it was hard for me to find balance. And I can't say that I'm like there or anything, but I have kind of lucked into a completely remote position. And I don't have any set hours. I just work when I want to, pretty much. Yeah, and that is hard in that there's not a lot of structure. There's just not a lot of structure, but it also has been really helpful for me. I am disabled in a not visible way. And sometimes it's hard for me to even take care of myself because I'm like, well, I should be fine. I'm just tired. That's not a big deal. But this particular job, like, I've been fortunate to have supervisors who were supportive of me. But you still have to, like, tell them, I still have to be like, hey, I'm not feeling good today. Hey, it's the 6th day in a row that I've said this to you, but with the job that I have right now, like, I don't even have to do that. I can just clock out and go to bed. Like, that has been very helpful. I didn't know how to see how helpful that was to me until it was happening. Like, that never would have been something that I could advocate for myself on, until I just can do that and work later, and that has been, like, life-changing. So that's probably not helpful to anybody except for me, but, like, it has been that has been like a recent kind of thing to learn, in a way to find balance for myself, and that has been, like, really great.
I love that. I think this is something else that I feel like I've tried to learn, is asking questions in a different way, right? Because, like, you don't know what you don't know. And so for you, right, like, you say, like, I wouldn't even know how to advocate for myself with that because I just didn't know, that this was actually better for me. And so I think sometimes finding balance is about, okay, like, am I asking the right questions? Am I looking at this the right way? Is there a different way to look at this that will actually answer, help me better? So I love that.
I think Mary Beth says, I'm good at boundaries in my personal life, but it's hard to say no at work, especially when your boss or higher ups are doing the asking. You can say no, it's just how you say it. I'm just a proponent of, if they can say no, you can say no.
I love
you have to take that. You have to take that and you have to sit and think about it. I know that's me being an entrepreneur, and I know that's not fair, but it is fair, because if you can say yes, you can say no, but it's how you say no and when you're saying no. So I would think of it in that way. But I think that's what we've been discussing for the past 2.5 years. How do you say yes and how do you say no?
But I love what Corinthia said. She said no is a complete sentence. I love that. You don't have to explain. And again, right, like, as women, we feel like we have to justify.
Right, because that's what I was just doing. Like, you're right.
You don't have to. No is a complete sentence, and I love that, right? You don't have to tell them exactly why. It's just like, no. That's it.
I think you could be a little bit more, you kind of have a little class. Well, no.
Yes. Yeah. Don't like throw tables on your way out.
Right. But I don't think it's, I don't know. I'm a totally different breed. That's why I'm just like, it's so easy for me to say it because I don't have a problem with saying it. No, what's wrong with that? No, because you're going to tell me no one day. So can we talk about your no or my no? Which one is better? No. So I think, we just have to, I think also, it's also just being okay with you and where you are and how you're going to maneuver going forward as this world becomes more virtual. because that's what's taking place, and more entrepreneurial. They're asking you to have entrepreneurial thoughts, ideas. So why can't you say no? Entrepreneurs say no, they have to. You know what I'm saying? So I'll say this. I've always thought that a big laugh is a really loud noise from the soul. Saying, ain't that the truth? That's Quincy Jones. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, can you, Mary Beth, can you do everything at all times? No. So I think, just putting it in your vocabulary, they'll get used to it, because again, they say no. And I don't put people's titles ahead of me. I just don't. Your title is a title. If you walk outside and get hit by a car, does your title matter? No, it doesn't. You have a name, though. That's what matters. So, I think we need to be a little bit more practical about life and where we are. And we're putting too much on ourselves because we're not being practical. Like my dog just came by me, and she knows that I'm on this podcast. She knows that we do this podcast every month, the third Friday at 10 o'clock. She was in the bed all morning, laying up under me. I got out the bed, made some coffee. Roxy Blue was still in the bed. She knew she had to potty though, right? Come on, now she's 10. I've had her since she was 2 months old. So she's right here under here, but she knows that right now this is a boundary. And we're going to wait until we're done, because you had from 6 this morning when we woke up until 10 or maybe 9 o'clock to go do what you need to do. And she's very smart. She's right here. Very smart. And she knows that I'm talking to her right now. But even with your pets, so I'm done.
Corinthia says, am I saying your name right? Corinthia? Yeah, okay. She says, knowing how and why other women set boundaries helps all of us. Knowing we are not alone in our needs is good. And again, yeah, I love that so much. I just finished reading Tarana Burke's memoir. It's called Unbound, and she was the founder of the Me Too movement. So she's talking about her own experiences and kind of how she got to the place where she started this movement. And it's all about empathy, right? And I think that's how we can help other people set boundaries and priorities and be true to themselves, is by having that empathy, by saying, right, me too. Like, I'm having to do these same things. I'm having to set boundaries, and having that empathy and recognizing that we're not alone. Like, I think that's why we do this podcast, right?
Right.
So we can be together and talk about some of these things that are challenging for us. So yeah, that's another book I recommend. Tarana Burke, Unbound, talking about the founding of the Me Too movement. It's hard though. Trigger warning about sexual assault and violence. But it's a really good read.
Well, I don't know what time it is because I move my screen kind of so I can't see the time, but I will say that it's a great weekend. However you want to label it, Good Friday, Friday of Good, however you want to say it. It's a great weekend. I say love yourselves. I won't bring religion into this right now, but I say love yourselves because somebody else loves you if you don't love yourself. Does that make sense? That's me and Michelle. You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously, if you don't love yourself, somebody else does love you. Spend some time with yourself this weekend. Go buy yourself some flowers. You deserve them. And when you start buying yourself flowers, when people come in your house, they'll start buying flowers for you because they always see flowers. So that's a boundary. Just start. I'm telling you, Stephanie, just do it. We are going for you. I'm rooting for you this weekend to create a boundary. Okay. And then channeling in, if you're a Capricorn, if you're, those characteristics that, you may not think are important, they are important. They are, because you get to know other people, because some people don't want to tell you about themselves. But if you just say, what's your sign? And I'm not saying that you know everything about them, but I'm just saying you have a general premise about how they operate. I think that's very, very important. It's helped me out, trust me, because I would have resigned from my job probably the first year but I knew everybody. And so I kind of knew how to maneuver through certain, things. But that's just me. I'm not a therapist. I'm an archivist and a librarian. I'm at the end of my spiel for today, and I'm just glad to have been with everybody.
Yes, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you, Jennifer. She put, build your own star chart. I'm going to go and look at that and build my own star chart because I don't know anything about this, but I've heard several people lately actually talking about signs and kind of what they mean. And so I need to go figure it out for myself.
Oh, I can tell you the first week, Cat Williams, Romeo Bearden, Beyonce, Jada Pinkett, and Kimberly Keaton. We were all born the first week of September. So you hear all that greatness? That's why I don't, I can say no easily. When you know that, who's been, you know what I'm saying? Like, it empowers you as well. Like, if you like those people.
Yeah. Yeah. Find other people who you relate to in your sign, right?
Yeah. Just the way the looks that we're getting. I'm like, am I okay? I'm okay.
Well, happy Good Friday. Have a good weekend. Set some boundaries for yourself.
Know your sign.
Yes. Thank you so much for being here. And hopefully we'll see you all next month for our next podcast. So thanks, everyone.
I think that was good.